Hi, and welcome to our family faith activity for today. This one is a really fun and creative way to pray that uses something that we all have around our house. Buttons. It's called the button prayer. And I found it from this blog. It's called Flame Creative Children's Ministry, and there's the website for that blog. But what's really great about this is there's no age limit to who you can do it with. It can be done with little children, it can be done with senior citizens, it can be done with families. You can do it with large groups, small groups, you can even do it individually. And all you need is something very, very simple. One of these. And what is this, you ask? It's a button box. I remember growing up, my mom always had, actually she didn't have a box, she had a tin that kept all the buttons that would fall off people's shirts that we'd have around the house. If you'd lose a button, you would just go into the button box and find one to replace it to sew it back on. So this was a common thing to have around the house, was a button box. So how can we use our button box to pray? Well, very, very simply, we can do it a couple ways. You can have a handful of buttons out for yourself. You can pick one button, and if you're doing this with a large group or a classroom or a larger family, maybe you can have everybody pick a particular button. It can be done any way that you want, and the beauty of this is you can do anything that you want with this. You can alter it to what your family needs at any time. I'm going to show you 6 different ways to pray with buttons, but again, as I said before, you can add and create anything that you want to make it your own. The first thing we're going to look at is the substance of a button, and if you notice, the button is made of a hard material. It needs to do that to do its job, basically, which is to fasten your clothes together. So it has to be made of something that's substantial and to be able to give the support that it needs. So when we think about that and the hardness of a button, we can think about all of the people that are going through a hard or difficult time. With COVID-19, sometimes we're put into very unusual and difficult situations that we've never faced before. So during those times, whether it's for ourselves or our loved ones, we can ask God to really be there for us, to help us through those difficult times. So when we think of the hardness of a button, we can think about the hardness of our lives and asking God to help us through that. The second thing we're going to think about, we're going to look at the function of a button. Why were buttons created? Well, they were created to keep our clothes together, to keep our shirts attached, to keep our pants buttoned, so many things that we needed buttons for to help keep us together. However, life isn't always like that. Sometimes we're broken apart for reasons of maybe being deployed, or sometimes families go through a divorce and separation. Sometimes, and right now during this COVID-19, we can't be with the ones that we love between social distancing and people in nursing homes. We can't visit our family members or those that we love, so we're separated from them. As we think about buttons and how buttons are meant to keep us together, we can pray for God to help us and give us peace when we can't be together with those that we love, when we're separated from them instead of being together, like buttons were created to do. The third way we can pray, and this one I think is so cool. We look at buttons and you see buttons have holes. This button has 4 holes. This cool flower yellow one has 2 buttons. This red one has 4 buttons, so that all different buttons have a different number of holes. Usually 2 or 4, but you never know what you're going to find. With this way to pray with buttons is for each hole on that button, you thank God for something in your lives. Maybe you can do 4 separate things. Or maybe this reminds you, like my family has 4 members, so I think of my family, so I may pray for my family. So you can interpret that any way that you want for your prayer, but use the holes in the button to thank God for special things in your lives. The next thing, the 4th way to pray is to be colorful with our prayer, to use the colors of the buttons. I'm going to pick this brown one, and then this brown one. And these brown buttons remind me of my daughters. They both have beautiful brown hair. So when I think of these brown buttons, I'm going to pray for my daughters, Olivia and Elizabeth, and ask God to be with them and protect them and keep them safe. So as you look to the colors of the buttons, maybe you see the orange button and you really love oranges for breakfast or orange juice for breakfast, and you thank God for giving us that, because that's a great thing to thank God for, the food and the drinks that we have. So you use the colors of the buttons to thank God for the things in our lives that those colors remind us of. Next thing we're going to do with buttons, and this is another really fun thing to do, is get your buttons and group them together by color. So I'm going to pick green, because we have all different shades of green buttons. And I'm going to start with 4. Now, if you're doing this with a group and you have people having individual buttons, maybe you can have them combine together and find people with similar buttons, similar colors. I put together these 4 buttons and it reminds me of a family. You have like your mama button, papa button, and 2 baby buttons, maybe put a 3rd baby button in there. Maybe grandma lives with you. You can put grandma there. But those buttons, all the same colors together, remind us of our families. And we thank God for our families and every member in our family. And we ask God to protect them and to be with them. Now, families may look different. Maybe there's just 1 parent and 2 children, or maybe there's 1 child and 2 parents. However our families look, we ask God to be with them no matter what the situation, and to love us and to be with us. And the final one, we look at these buttons and we see every button is different and it's unique. And they're different shapes, they're different sizes, they're different colors. So we really want to think about and thank God that He made all of His children in the world different with their unique personalities, unique talents. Everybody in the world is different, and all of these different unique buttons can help us appreciate and respect the differences in everyone, and that can bring us closer together as part of God's family. So when we look at buttons now, hopefully you can think of some really neat creative ways your family can pray with buttons as well. But I hope you use this as a fun and interesting way to pray with your families. So please stay safe, take care, and God bless. Bye.